so I can't actually.
Okay, so to reiterate, the first thing in my mind is why now, when actually the village has coped actually relatively well without parking enforcement for well over a decade or possibly two. Most houses don't have a drive or a garage, so essentially the enforcement basically says you can't practically have a car either. And this is important because work patterns have changed in the years that we've been here. There's a lot more working from home for a part-time of your job. That's great for the environment. That's great for traffic. And it's great for parent workers as well, which is important in this day and age. And a parking restriction basically annihilates those priorities. We're really close to the hospital where people do shift work, and there are loads of other people, non-NHS workers, who do shift work as well. I'm an NHS worker, but there are that you don't. You work late, you start late, you might do nights. You need to have your car outside in the day. I'm really concerned that actually this move is out of step with the progress of modern working in Wheatley, and it's out of touch with what actually the high street residents need.
Yeah. Okay, Richard. Thanks for that. It's really good points, and I think everyone, the focus of the points will narrow as we go through. Just if everyone could be mindful, there's 27 people, so we try and keep it concise if we can. No, absolutely right. They're good questions. So on the first point about why now, so this isn't a measure that's targeted at Wheatley. The county council have not decided Wheatley's a real problem, particularly the high street, let's do enforcement there. What we have is chronic situation with the lack of parking everywhere across the 3 districts. So you know, Didcot, for example, people just drive to the station, park in all the streets, they take the train station to London or Oxford. So it's a serious issue. So it's not something but it's not something we can do piecemeal. So we can't take away, you know, just do Didcot. We have to take on civil parking enforcement. And when we're doing civil parking enforcement, what we can't do is make a kind of gentleman's agreement that we're not going to do Wheatley High Street. Unfortunately, historically, the community in the past required the high street to have 2-hour waiting bays. And we can't just have, as I said, have a gentleman agreement and not enforcement. But what we can do is we can change those regulations. So we can put a residence parking permit in, so everyone can have 2 car permits or 1 car permit and stickers for guests. And that, you know, we can change the regulations so that it'll be 2-hour bays or resident parking permit. Like quite a lot of us are familiar with what happens in Oxford. We can do exactly what's going on there. So that's the why. It's why now. You know, there are chronic areas, even in Wheatley, like the school, where we're just powerless to do anything about traffic until we take on parking enforcement ourselves. David, did you want to come in and touch on it?
Yeah, I just thought, given that you came to this party late, like I came to this meeting late, I could give you a run through as to how this started and why now, the definite why now question.
If you give a little presentation at the beginning about the cabinet member sign off and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it is the case that we are one of the few councils that doesn't do civil parking enforcement. There's been a heavy push across the district for it to be introduced from areas that have particular problem parking because the police will not do it. They just haven't got the time. As I say, we're one of the last districts. I think there are probably about 15 left across the country that don't do it. When we brought forward the application, it has to be signed off by the Secretary of State, and his guidance was it had to be the whole 3 districts that you take those powers for. So that's the why now is there is a big push for it from across not just our district, but across the 3 districts. And there are particular hotspots. I have to say, Wheatley was one of the villages that was pushing for it. When I had my previous hat on as the person responsible for parking, Wheatley was one of the areas that used to come to me. Probably not the high street, probably another part of Wheatley, but was one of the villages that was really pushing for it. So I guess that's the why now. In terms of prioritization, Tim will tell you, we won't have enough people to enforce everywhere. So we'll be looking for prioritization. But also, a lot of regulations have become out of date. So parking restrictions are there because they were historically there. And nobody's bothered about it because they haven't been enforced. So we're expecting a deluge of people who want to change parking regulations. And I think what the team has said is where there is a change coming, then they'll probably hold off on enforcement while the changes are considered. But
we touched on some of that, David, in the presentation. Yeah. So thanks for that. Ollie, if we go to you.
Sorry, thanks for that. Look, I accept that you guys have multiple areas to manage, and so it's not easy from that respect. You're trying to find a common denominator, all the rest of it. I have to say, I completely agree with what Richard said, and frankly, you know, in this village, I'm not interested in Didcot, right? I don't care about problems of people parking at the station and running off into London or wherever. You know, you here in the time that I've lived here, you do not have parking mayhem. We do not have a serious issue here, and it feels like this is a solution in search of a problem. If we lived in London and we're all in Hammersmith or Wandsworth or somewhere where, you know, space is tight, yeah, fine. You know, we'll all pay £100 a year and you know, to the local council for our first permit and £5,000 for the second and whatever. But you know, it's just not necessary. It's not a metropolitan area, and frankly, in a village like this, it is abhorrent that any idea that people should have to pay to park outside their own homes. And I don't have a dog in the fight. I have my own parking, right? I can reverse into my own place. So I'm talking about all the people up the rest of the high street who can't do that. And it's wrong that they should have to park outside their own homes and pay for the privilege of doing so. However, around the CBD, around outside the shops, outside the cinnamon, absolutely the case that it should be maximum an hour or whatever time that you can park there. Ticket it, do a ANPR, whatever you need to do. You know, the time it takes for an old lady to go into Mates and have her hair done, that's the limit, frankly. And we should not be doing things that takes money out of local community pockets.
Okay, I think you've made your point. I'm going to stop you there.
No, I haven't actually finished.
Well, we have 10 minutes left.
So. Well, I'm going to be very quick. So let's not take money out of people pockets that they could spend on the local community. Definitely control around the school, zigzag it up the whole bit. But you know, this is a silly idea, and you know, it doesn't have to be enforced.
Okay, but just to reiterate, we're not bringing this in because of Wheatley, and we can't bring it in not with Wheatley excluded, right? So there is a massive problem in the 3 districts in certain areas, so we have to bring in parking enforcement, and we can't exclude Wheatley from that. So what we need to do is look for a solution for Wheatley, and there's a very obvious one in the high street. And you're saying that you object to people paying £50 a year for a car parking space, but it is the public highway, and they're houses without car parking spaces. If they want to park on the public highway, there's an option there, so we could bring in parking, you know, residence parking permits. But the alternative is not to have civil parking enforcement in the entire district. And that's, you know, the communities across the district have decided that's not feasible. Okay, so we'll go on to Andrew Norton.
Thank you. So I've spoken to around 60 or 70 people in the last week, in both in the high street and surrounding streets where parking will be pushed to. It seems to be the case that the decision has been pushed by the parish council for this, or to not have permits, and there's a real strong request for permits to allow people to park. If we had permits in the high street, it would significantly reduce the number of cars parking. It would prevent commuters from parking, and it would limit any other issues going forward. And if the parish council are considering an alternative, I would hope that we could put this on hold until they can present to the village, where there's a petition now as well against this, so that we can actually come up with a workable solution.
Alexandrine, are you able to extend the meeting, did you say, or have you done that? Okay, well, that's good. It says 6 minutes on my clock running down, so I don't know if it'll just automatically carry on. Hopefully.
I'm doing it.
Okay, great, thank you. So Andrew, yeah, we are. It is a difficult position that we're in, because we've got this looming deadline of the 1st of November, and you know, the parish, you know, they haven't got a meeting before that. So it's slightly difficult, but realistically, you know, and I'm not making a little deal here between the Wheatley and Conduit, but realistically, we're not going to be coming down on Wheatley High Street with like a ton of bricks with our enforcements from day one. And so there is scope here to take a sensible, pragmatic solution to this, give the parish council a little bit of time to think about it, about what they want to do. And, you know, they've got to think about the money, the cost implication, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sure, you know, I know Alison's here tonight, and some of the other parishes, parish councillors are with us. So they're hearing the community, and you know, I'm sure they will want to have a plan, and they will want to act in whatever way they decide. I can't preempt that, but as I've said, I will pay £4,000 towards the cost of whatever changes they want to make to the regulations. Okay.
Can I just start? Sorry. Okay.
So Andrew, go on.
Well, can I just? I mean, it's good. It's important to recognise all people's views, but there are some people who are strongly against residents parking. But are they going to be able to be in a position, if you say we can take a pragmatic view, that they can call in the enforcement people to come down and ticket people if we continue to park?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next, that was Andrew. Peter, John Delvin.
What is the actual mechanism by which the parish council would put forward a proposal to change parking? And supposing they decided that they did want to do it, but of course didn't have the funds, because there's very little money in the parish council. They've got all sorts of priorities. Yeah. Well, if they committed to paying, so they would speak to me and speak to the civil parking enforcement team, which is, you know, there's an email on address that I've sent to the parish. They could speak to me, and if they committed to paying, if they didn't have the funds immediately available, I'm absolutely sure we could figure out a way to do it with them paying in the future. As I say, we want to be sensible and pragmatic about this, so there will be a way around that. But they have to make a commitment to pay for you know, their portion of the scheme, because the reason why we're asking the parish to pay is because, one, we can't raise the money. The county council has already spent £500,000 doing this, and there are schemes right the way across the district, the 3 districts, and it would be cripplingly expensive to make all the changes that are requested by all the towns and parish councils. So we have to draw a line in the sand somewhere, and that's why we're asking the parishes to pay, not because, you know, we want to hold them to account for or hold them to ransom, you know. Okay. Any other questions? Alison, do you want to say anything about what the parish's plans might be?
Hi there, everybody. My name's Alison, and I'm chair of Wheatley Parish Council. I just want to say that the parish council will be discussing this on our next available meeting, which is the 1st of November. My own view is that we need to take a look at the whole village. It's not just about the high street. It's not just about Littleworth Road. It's not just about Church Road. We need to look at the whole village holistically, because if you do something for one street, the problem just gets shifted to another street. So we need to look at the whole village holistically. To do that, we firstly need to consult with our parishioners. We also need to get some data, and Tim, it would be really useful if your officers could help us with that. And we also need to do some research on what the best solution for the village might be. It might be parking permits, it might be parking restrictions. We don't know yet, because we don't know enough about what's possible and what's not possible. So what would be really good is to have some time to come up with some options after doing research and some consultation.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Richard, you've put your hand back up. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, just one. Thank you, Alison, for putting that so evidently. I appreciate that. I think we need to